In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the Exia iterations. The iterations are shown or hidden using this button. They appear at the bottom. The iterations are shown in a line. You can size and so on, and let's test that. Exia iteration planning makes it really easy to schedule out iterations, to allocate work to those iterations, and then to track the work on a day-to-day basis to make sure that the project stays on track. Iterations in Exia are shown as a timeline down at the bottom here. We can hide that timeline or we can show it. We can easily change the length of any iteration just by dragging it or by setting its date or number of days. We can just type and that changes the iteration length. We can introduce lag, so for instance we might want this iteration to end on the Friday and then the following one to start on the Monday. We can even back iterations up so that we have overlapping iterations. And if we were to back this up far enough, you'd actually see the today line jump into here, which it does. So now we have two overlapping iterations, and so it's very flexible. This bar always shows the today line, which is really critical in terms of understanding where the project is at and making sure that it's on track. So let's go ahead and we're going to open up our user stories and start allocating these user stories to iterations. Let's take a user story and just drag it onto an iteration. As soon as we do that, we see that because this user story has 7 person days in it, we've now allocated 7 person days to this iteration. Let's take another one and drop it on, and now we're up to 9.5 person days. Let's go ahead and finish scheduling our workout. Whoops. We'll take out this lag while we're in here. So it's that simple to schedule work across iterations. Now, what can we see from this? We can double click on the iteration and we now see the details for the iteration. We see we have 2 work items in here, and we can hover over anything to get the details of the work items. Down at the bottom, we see the iteration schedule in detail, and we see the current day. We can see at a glance that this iteration has only 56% of its total capacity planned. So that means that we can add more stories to the iteration. We can either drop them here or we can drop them directly down here. So now we're getting closer to the capacity for this iteration, and we might want to add one more item, and that's just great. Now let's see what happens if we add one more item. Let's create a new user story, and let's go ahead and save that. And now let's give that a few person days, and let's assign it to myself, and let's just take it and drag it in here. Now we see that we have a problem. Our timeline has gone red, and it's indicating to us that our planned work exceeds our capacity of 17 person days, and it's giving us some instructions as to how to fix that problem. We can fix that problem by reducing some of these timelines. We can go to any one of our user stories, double click it, it brings us to the user story, and we can start to reduce the size of the amount of work in the user stories. If that's not possible, then the other option of course is to take some work and move it to another iteration. And now our iteration is looking better. We're at 97% of our total capacity. And the other thing that we can see from this iteration is that we've completed 47% of our planned work, but more importantly, the green line representing the planned work is ahead of our day line, which means that this iteration is on track. If the green falls behind, it means the iteration is falling behind. And this green line is the sum of the work that's been completed in each one of these work items. Now you might be asking, how does work get completed in a work item? Well, let's just double click it, which brings us to this the work item screen. Work gets completed by the stage of completion being changed. So when this was not started, the green line switches to nothing. As it moves to in progress, ready for test, ready for prod, and so on. The status bar updates automatically so that when that work item is done, it's all over to the stage. Whoops, got a little bug. When that work item moves to in production, we can see the green line matches up with the brown line, meaning that that work item is now complete. The other way, of course, that we want to be able to affect stage of completion